Hey everyone, welcome back. Today is day 10 of our module. However, it is day 5 of our week. So, you know what that means. Day 5, that means we have an assessment today. We won't be on here too long for the virtual lesson because I want to make sure you have enough time to take that test. And I know we've had a lot of information packed into this one week, okay? I'll try to be as concise as possible to make sure that you get the information you need to do well on your test. So, what we're going to do today, you're going to need your Chromebook, MyBook, pencil, highlighter. Okay, our agenda looks like this. We're going to start out with some Greek and Latin roots. Okay, we did some of those last week. We did fun or phone, and I think it was EX or E. So those were some root words and prefixes that we did. So we're going to look at a few different things today. We're going to look at our reading strategy of text structure once again, and we're going to do a targeted close read of our text, The Wheelchair Sports, okay? And then you'll be off to take your assessment. So our objectives today, or what we need to do, what we will be able to do, are determine the meaning of grade level academic vocabulary derivatives from Greek, Latin, or other linguistic roots and affixes, okay? You will also be able to analyze the structure of a text. All right? To be successful, however, I'm going to need you, okay, to virtually discuss with me roots of photo, odd, and viz to show understanding of roots and definitions, okay? We also, to be successful, we will need to use academic language to identify and explain the different types of text structures. We will use skills learned throughout the week to successfully complete the weekly assessment. All right, so let's take a look at these Latin roots and these Greek roots. Okay, so we have two Latin roots, viz and odd. Okay, viz and odd. You can see some examples with those roots pointed out to us. And our Greek root, of course, is photo. Many English words have roots that come from Greek or Latin. A root is a basic word part that carries meaning. Knowing the meaning of Greek and Latin roots can help readers understand the many meanings of different words that contain the same roots. So, for example, let's take a look at viz. Viz means see. Maybe you think vision. That's what I think of. Your vision is how you see with your eyes. Okay, so examples: advise, visible. Okay, visible. Can you see something? Advise, to oversee. All right, and then we have odd, which means to hear. Okay, odd, like auditory. That means hearing. We have auditorium, and we have audience. We also have the word photo, which means light, and we have photograph as an example, and photocopy as an example. So let's look back at our story of Winds of Hope. So our first story from this week, let's turn to page 42. Okay, page 42. All right. So on page 42, we have paragraph 16. It's the second paragraph on that page. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's read this paragraph together. Okay, read it with me out loud. It starts with Soon William. Give you a second to find it. Page 42, second paragraph. It's the 16th paragraph of the text. Here we go. Soon William was being interviewed on the radio and photographed for the newspapers. The story of the boy with only an 8th grade education who'd built electric wind spread across the internet. Ooh, okay. So knowing the meaning of the root photo can help us understand and figure out the meaning of the word photographed. I know that the Greek root means light. The Greek root photo means light. This tells me that the word will have something to do with light. Okay, so we can conclude that photograph has something to do with light because of the root photo. Okay, it's kind of like a context clue within the word itself. Now let's look at page 42 again, and let's read the 17th paragraph. So the paragraph right underneath. In 2007, the 19-year-old who had not attended school for 5 years was flown to Tanzania to speak at the prestigious TED conference, featuring innovators from around the world in technology, education, and design. Nervously struggling with his English, William received a rousing ovation from the auditorium of inventors and scientists when he modestly described what he had done. So let's look at that word, auditorium. Okay, that's one of our vocab words this week. So if we knew ahead of time that the root aud meant hear, and it had to do with hearing, okay, we knew that root, we could have already thought about that when we were looking in the text. Okay, we could have said, I'm not sure what an auditorium means, but I do know that aud means hear. Okay, and then I would look at other context clues around it. So it says that William was describing what he had done and he received an ovation. So I'm going to assume that people were in this auditorium listening to what he was saying. Okay. If we didn't have a test today, we would be doing what we would call a know it, show it. Okay, a know it, show it is when you're able to show off what you've learned, okay, in our lessons for the week. So you know something, show me that you know it. Okay, we'll have stuff like this for center work, but today we're not going to do that. I'm just going to briefly talk about it, okay? So we're going to, we would just identify some words that contain the roots photo, aud, and viz. And I would let you use an online dictionary to help you. So we know that photo means light. Okay, so you would list words with the root photo underneath. Photograph, photography, okay, those types of things. The word audiologist contains a root that has Latin origins, and the meaning of the root aud means hear, okay, is hear. So we would add in words in our chart with the root aud in it. Okay, see if you can think of words that you would add to this chart. If you're with someone, go ahead and have a discussion with them. If you're by yourself, go ahead and take some notes. All right, what are some words you could add into this chart? Go ahead and pause to do that now. All right, and like I said, our big concept today is text structure, okay? We know that the way an author organizes his or her writing is called text structure, okay? Information in text is so much easier to read when it has organizations or some type of structure. Some authors may use some compare and contrast as one of the types of text structure. Compare and contrast allows us to see similarities and differences between two or more topics. Okay, so we have 4 different types of text structure that we are going to decide between. So the first one, like we just said, was compare and contrast. Okay, next we have cause and effect. The cause and effect structure is used to explain what happens and why did it happen. Okay, we have some transition work like this happened because of this, or so, in order to, as a result. Okay, our third is sequential or logical order. Okay, this explains events in time. Okay, time order, the order of importance. As you can see, we have some more transition words listed below there as well. Our fourth and final text structure is problem and solution. Okay, a problem is shown, and then we also talk about, or the text tells us how the problem is solved. Go ahead and look at those transition words underneath below. Okay, so a lot of times, yes, we do have 4. The text may not always contain all 4, but they can contain more than one text structure throughout a writing. For example, in an informational text, an author might use cause and effect to tell what happened and why, But then in a different part of the text, the author might use sequential structure to give events in a sequence or an order of which they happened. Okay, so we need to be aware there may be more than one. So if you find one, but someone else finds another, one of you isn't necessarily wrong as long as you can have text evidence to back up which text structure you say that you have found. So now let's do our targeted close read. Okay, let's go back to our wheelchair sports text. Okay, let's specifically turn to page 52. So that's our final page of the story, page 52. I'm just going to make sure I didn't skip over anything. I think we talked about everything else we need to. So page 52, let's reread pages 11, 12, and 13. Okay. We're going to analyze the text structure that's used in this portion of our text. Okay. So I want you to be thinking about what is the text structure and how do you know? What in the text is giving you the ideas that this is what we see? And how is this helping us understand the central idea of this? Okay, so I'm going to begin reading, begin thinking about those questions. Okay, maybe you want to make note of them really quickly on page 52 of what you think the text structure is. And then you can check to see if you're right, if your guess was right at the end. Paragraph 11. Gutmann's great idea. Dr. Ludwig Gutmann was a German brain surgeon who fled to England before the Second World War. During the war, he was in charge of Stoke Mandeville Hospital, a place that treated soldiers with spinal cord injuries. Before Gutmann, these patients were left to lie in bed doing nothing. They would get painful bed sores, bladder and kidney infections, and would often die after several miserable months. No one expected them to become active again. Gutmann refused to accept this. He believed he could use sports as a way to get patients active and out of bed. He got our sergeant assigned to the hospital to play catch with patients in bed using a heavy medicine ball machine. They needed to build up enough arm strength to lift themselves into a wheelchair. Then the games really began. Activity wasn't optional, it was prescribed medicine. So they had to do it. The doctor was prescribing this as a way for them to get better. Patients had archery and darts, pool and table tennis. They invented wheelchair polo and wheelchair basketball. Amazingly, patients were soon being discharged from the hospital to go home and live. In 1948, Gutmann held the first annual wheelchair competition at the hospital. In 1952, Dutch competitors made these games international. 8 years later, they were held parallel to the Olympics. The Paralympics are now held immediately following the Olympics in the same cities. In 1960, Gutmann watched 300 athletes enter Rome's Olympic Stadium for the first Paralympics Games. That number is now increased to over 4,000 athletes. That's impressive. Okay, what do we think about text structure? Okay, well, let's think about Dr. Gutmann's great idea. Okay, it had an effect on people, and the cause of that is because of all these things. So the things that were happening that made these people so sick, that caused Dr. Gutmann to have this great idea and put it into action. So I see cause and effect being put into play here. If you see anything else, go ahead and highlight it. I trust you. I trust that you'll have text evidence to back this up. But go ahead and highlight when you see cause and effect. Okay? When we know that the text is organized by a cause and effect, like in this text specifically, I see reasons. I see why he did this more clearly. And I see that it had effects on his patients, and it truly did change the world and the lives of these people. Okay? This text structure, cause and effect, can do a lot for our understanding as readers. If you go back to page 14 and 15 at the beginning of module 1, we took a look at this knowledge map, okay? This knowledge map in your My Book. Go ahead and add to it. Pause, add to list. Put new words, new ideas that come to mind, things you've learned throughout the module, okay? Add to this concept map. We've read many selections about inventors and the effects they've had on people, okay? Go ahead and add words that come to your mind, things you've learned, maybe things you still have questions about. Go ahead and pause to do that. And again, here were our objectives for the day. Now that we're finished with our virtual lesson, it is time for you to get on the HMH website on the resource portal. You'll go to the resource portal. On the right-hand side, it says HMH textbooks. Choose that link, then choose ED, ED. Go ahead and log in and go to your assignments, and your assessment can be found there. Best of luck, and I hope you enjoyed these stories as much as I did this week.